Hey, what's up everyone? I changed up a little bit today. I'm out in the high desert. Maybe you can see in the distance back here the mountains with a little bit of snow left on it. It's where I was last weekend. I'm out in the Lexus today. I'm just doing a little bit of adventuring and off-roading because it is windy, as it's crazy windy. It's been windy for a few days. And it's been clear. You look at the sky in the background, you probably think, wow, what a beautiful day out. Well, when it's clear, you know that temperature drops right down, and it's been really bitterly cold maybe the last week, since last weekend when I was out. So it's not really my favorite time to kind of set up, camp it out, cook, do all that stuff. It's nicer to be in with the heated seats, driving around doing a little bit of off-roading like I'm doing out here. This little high desert area, I say little, it's pretty big, but it offers a lot of fun little trails with some rock ledges and different off-camber type things to do some slow crawling through. It's a lot of fun to change it up. A weekend like this is always good to catch up on maintenance. And when I say maintenance, I don't mean where I actually have to do maintenance all the time, but I do have a number of vehicles. And what you need to do is you need to just get under there and check things out, because my vehicles don't just do road miles, they do a lot of off-road miles. So you just get under there and look at suspension components, look at your brakes, hoses, things like that. I guess it's preventative maintenance, maybe, is what I'm talking about. So it's a good weekend to do that with the garage door closed. It's actually really cold. I'm gonna stand behind the car. The Jeep is back. Got it. It's all taken care of. So the snow is almost all gone, but holy cannoli, is it ice. The roads, the tire tracks on all the roads, they get mashed down, then they melt, and then they freeze. And look at this ice. It's pure ice. And a couple places over there, man, it was like a launching pad of ice. It was crazy. So I'm back out. It's the next day. I got a little story time for you here. But on the 60 series is the main thing. I was making a list for that, and I started doing some searching around, and man, if I didn't possibly find a brand new OEM fuel tank for it that I could buy. Now, I won't find out till Monday, because you know how some of those websites are. They say, oh, we've got one, but they really don't, because they want you to do something else. They say they got one new one and one used one. So we'll see about that. That's possibly some like great, outstanding news right there. So I've got a little story time for you. It's regarding the Jeep. So if you follow my videos, about a little over a month ago, early January, I was out, having fun in the snow. The snow fell, time to get out in it. I was out in the Jeep. And I was getting after it a bit as usual, but when this happened, I was just cruising. The check engine light came on. Like out of the blue. I mean, this is, yeah, it's a 2016, but it's got like 16,000 miles on it. So never had an issue with this thing as far as that goes. So the check engine light comes on and I'm like, what the heck, And I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So I immediately think I better turn around. I don't know what this is. So I turn around, start heading back out. I stop, I cook, I drive all the way home, which was about an hour and a half drive. And then I parked the Jeep because I don't know what it was. Yeah, I had to drive a long way home. And if it was something bad, I possibly could have screwed it up, which would have been really stupid. I read it with my code reader, my scan gauge, which is that little thing's able to actually clear codes in my Toyotas if I ever get a code, which I do on the Lexus because of that exhaust and some sensors, but it's there to clear codes. Well, it read the code on the Jeep, but it couldn't clear it. You needed something more sophisticated to clear this code. So I said, well, screw it. I just got the oil changed from the dealership. I don't like going to the dealerships, but it's nice to have a record because some people, not all people are like me. Some people like to see, all the records come from the dealership, not Johnny's Speed and Chrome oil change. So I got this right before the trip. I got the oil change, and then the code throws oil. It was like an oil pressure sensor, something like that. A P0 whatever code. So I said, all right, screw it. I'm gonna let the dealership take a look at it. So I call the dealership up, and they say, oh, here's the soonest appointment we can get. 3.5 weeks out. 3.5 weeks just to get an appointment to get it in. Like, all right, whatever. I don't drive it that much really, but it is snow season. Just sits in the garage. So 3.5 weeks go by. I take it to the dealership first thing in the morning. It was like a 9 a.m. appointment. I was there at 8:30, checked it in. Thank you. Give me a call later this afternoon. So that whole day goes by, no call. The next morning, I get to about 11 a.m., no call. So I call him. I'm like, hey, what, is my Jeep done? And like, oh, no, we haven't even looked at it yet. I'm like, oh, you haven't looked at it yet. You made me wait 3.5 weeks just to bring it in. And now I got there on my appointment and it's been sitting for a day and a half. So then that day finishes out completely. And it's now the third day of it being at the dealership. And we call and they say, oh, yeah, we're pulling it in real soon. So by maybe 2:00 that afternoon on the third day, I get a call. Well, we scanned it, we cleared the code, and the code didn't come back. We drove it around a little bit, so no charge, you're good to go, come pick it up. I'm like, wow. I could have done that and not waited, 3 weeks and 3 days and all this stuff. It just, here's the thing. They told me, oh, we just been really busy. We're low on mechanics. We've got a bunch of Ram trucks in here for service. We got a lot of people moving out here from California that are doing, he said that. It's not me making that up. So I said, okay, interesting. So then I guess I go pick up my Jeep, and that was yesterday. And now I brought it up here today, having some fun with it, and everything seems to be fine. He said if the code is solid, it's like a warning. If it's blinking at you, then it's a critical engine code. And you're like, okay, that's the first time I heard anything like that. Usually if you get a check engine light, you better get that thing checked out ASAP. Or, the problem with newer vehicles, now it's not just the Jeep, but new vehicles in general, they don't show you. And, the old vehicles have all these analog gauges showing you, oil pressure, it's moving around, water temp, all this stuff you can physically see. These new ones, they're just like, we'll take care of it. If something goes wrong, we'll give you a warning light. And I know those old analog gauges weren't that accurate. They were accurate, but, maybe it could have been, so many PSI plus or minus, or so many so many degrees plus or minus, but you still had an indicator. You could look down at your dash and see, oh my God, the needle's pointing up toward H, high water temp. Or, oh my gosh, the needle's pointing down here on low oil pressure. Boom, you shut off your engine and you figure it out. So that's one of the reasons why I like some of these older vehicles that I have, is they still have analog gauges on them. And you can see what's going on. Now with these scan gauges, you can get the readouts and you know, but all I'm saying is, in a nutshell, it kind of sucks that they hide all that from you. And I think it's because they want you to bring it to the dealerships. Because a lot of people don't have, you know, scanning tools, or they don't want to mess around with that. So I always thought that was interesting. That's my little story time for you guys. Little Jeep story time. It's running great. I mean, it never had a problem running. It just threw a light, and being concerned, I did something about it. But it's always run perfect. Everything's working good. It's really cold out, really windy still. I'm down in just a little protected area. The wind is blasting through the top of the trees. All right, everybody. Well, that's gonna do it for me. As I said, it's never a wasted weekend. Even though I didn't get out to be able to come out and set up and cook and relax and sit by the fire and just have a good old time with a good meal, I was able to get out into the desert with the Lexus, adventure around there. Later that afternoon, pick up the Jeep, bring the Jeep out today, see all the ice and mud and just the little remnants of snow that's left. He said it may be the last snow of the season, but I still had a really good time. Really good time. And great news. Everybody keep their fingers crossed for me that I may have access to a brand new OEM Toyota fuel tank for the 60, which means old school Overlander is set up for this spring. It's gonna be good. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next weekend.